Hello everybody, my name is Mr. Bright and I'm in room 225, and so if you have any questions, you're welcome to come see me. I'm there pretty much every morning. I'm available if you need to ask me any questions or find out anything or need any additional help. Please feel free to come by. Before we get started, I want to take a minute just to explain what the rest of the week is going to be like. So we'll be doing videos in this class, or I'll be doing videos for this class, and class is going to continue as normal. So what that means is we'll have lessons every day, we'll have work every day, we'll have homework that's due, we'll have quizzes, tests, everything is going to continue on just as it has been. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's a challenge when it's over video, right? When you don't have somebody in the room walking around able to look at your work and see what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong, it makes it harder. And I understand that, and I want to help you with that, but it is just where we are. And we've got to make the best out of it that we possibly can. And it does mean that you are going to have to work harder than you have. Now, I can do some things to help this out a little bit, meaning I can slow things down a little, and I can keep the problems from getting overly difficult. But the reality is you still are going to have to work pretty hard to learn what you need to learn so that you can succeed in this class. And the bottom line is, you need it. You need all of this. Everything that this class has to offer, you need. You need the credit and you need the knowledge, because you're going to need it in other math classes after this. So it's important for you to do well. It's important for you to put effort forth. And if you get stuck, you get behind, you don't understand what's going on in the class, you can always come see me. We have other teachers that are available to help you out. I'll get you that information as well. And you've got to move forward, and you can. All right, we've got resources here for you to take advantage of, and you can move forward and you can learn what you need to learn. I'll make these videos available on YouTube so that you can re-watch them if you want to. The files are too big to put them on Edsby, so I can't put them there, but I can put them on YouTube. And I am telling you, you're going to get through this. We've seen other classes do it, and it's worked, and it'll work for you too. So as far as what we have ahead of us this week, on today, we're going to be doing slope-intercept to standard form. That's the handout that you either have right now or the sub will be handing to you very soon. Tomorrow on Wednesday, we're going to do point slope to standard form. All right, so both of these say that our final answer is going to be in standard form. On Thursday, you're going to get another sheet that will just be a review of Tuesday and Wednesday, and then on Friday, we're going to take a quiz of these two topics. And again, I think you can do well on this quiz as long as you pay attention today and tomorrow and put some effort into that review. That review is going to be almost identical to the test on Friday. If you can do the review, you can do the test. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to ask the sub to please pause the video for a moment and make sure everybody has the handout that they need and a pencil that they can write with. Okay, to start off with, I have a couple of formulas that I want to give you, so I want you to take a moment and copy these down, either at the very top of your sheet or even on the back is fine. The first one is called point slope, and it looks like this. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. The next one is slope-intercept. And this one is y equal mx plus b. Both of these should be familiar to you, but not everybody remembers point slope, but most people remember slope-intercept. And then the final one is called standard form. And it is ax plus by is equal to c. Now, I know this is a little bit confusing, but these are all just different forms of the same thing, right? We're going to describe an equation of a line, of just a straight line, like we've graphed before, just a straight line. Those are supposed to be arrows. And we can describe that line using x's and y's. And when we do that, we can either write it like this in what's called point-slope form, or we can write it like this, which is slope-intercept, or we can write it like this, which is standard form. Now, these all look really different, but we can describe this line with either one of these three different forms. And so that's really what we're going to practice is if I have this, can I turn it into that? Or if I have point-slope, can I turn this into slope-intercept, or can I turn this into standard form? That's really what we're practicing today, is trying to take a single line and change the form that it's in. Okay? The first one we're going to do is slope-intercept to standard. All right, so that means we're going to go from this form, this blue form, slope-intercept, and we're going to put it into standard form. And there's a couple important things about standard form. So let's go ahead and write those down right now because it's important to understand. There are no fractions allowed, and A must be positive. Okay? And let me maybe just give you an example of what I mean. So AX plus BY is equal to C. This is standard form. And so if I said 2x plus 3y is equal to 4, this is an example of an equation of a line that is in standard form. Okay? And this is perfectly fine the way that it's written. Let me give you some other different examples. 7x minus 5y is equal to 1. This would be perfectly fine. Maybe 4x plus y equal negative 6. This would be perfectly fine. All right? But what would not be fine, what we cannot do, would be something like this. 1/2 x plus 3y is equal to 4. I can't do this because we can't have fractions. That's not okay. Another example that would not be okay, negative 7x minus 5y is equal to 1. All right, I can't do this because A cannot be negative, right? The 7 cannot be negative because that's the A. The 5, that's fine. It's not a problem. B can be negative. We don't care about that. C can be negative. We don't care about that. But A cannot be. I can't have any fractions anywhere, and A cannot be negative. All right. So let's go back and take a look at problem number 1. So the first thing here, all we have to do is just write the slope-intercept form of the equation. All right, that's all we've got to do. So slope-intercept is the y equal mx plus b. And maybe I should also point out here, now you all have learned this before, but let me just refresh your memory. The m is the slope, okay? And the b is the y-intercept. All right, the m is the slope and the b is the y-intercept. You know what that means when we're looking at a graph, if we graph this thing. The m is, you know, the tiltiness of the line. It's what makes this line kind of go upwards, or, you know, maybe it goes downwards, or maybe it's flat. But that's the m that does that. The b is this number right here. It's where this line crosses the y-axis. It crosses the y-axis right there. That's what b tells me. All right, so again, let's go back and look at number 1. I want to put this into slope-intercept form. I've got y equals mx plus b. So this tells me my slope is -3. Well, that's my m, and that my y-intercept is -2, so that's my b. And so all I do is, rather than writing y equal mx plus b, I am going to write y equal -3x minus 2. All right, I put the -3 in for the m, and I put the -2 in for the b. Okay? All right, so the substitute would please pause the video for just a moment. I want all of you to do problem number 2, and then let's check our answers. Okay, hopefully you got y equal -2x plus 3. All right, the slope was -2, the y-intercept was 3. All right, so if that seems straightforward, again, if the sub would please pause the video, let's go ahead and do problems 3 and 4, please. Okay, now taking a look at our answers, answer number 3, y equal x minus 3. And if you have a 1 in front of your x, that's fine. It means the same thing as what I've got right here. It's correct. We just don't normally write the 1 in front of the x. We just write it as x. And then y equal 2x minus 4. All right, so hopefully that went well. So let's move on to number 5. So we've been writing the slope-intercept form. But this is already in slope-intercept form, right? This already is y equal mx plus b. So now what we're being asked to do is to write the standard form of the equation. So standard form, again, is the ax plus by is equal to c. This is the one where a cannot be a fraction and it cannot be negative, okay? The other thing that I want you to pay attention to is just the difference in how these two forms look. Here's slope-intercept again, y equal mx plus b, standard form. So notice that in slope-intercept, the x is on one side and the y is on the other side of the equal sign. But for standard form, both x and y are on the same side. So that means that I've either got to move the x or I've got to move the y. I've got to move something because I need x and y to be on the same side. And here I've got the y on the left and the x on the right. So what do I do? The easiest way to solve this is to move this -3x over to that side. So do you all remember how you would move something like that? Hopefully you're thinking that you would add 3x to both sides. Okay. Now I'm going to do the right-hand side first. The -3x and the +3x cancel each other out, and I'm just left with the -4 over here. Now on the right-hand side, I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to put the 3x first and then the y second. Now I know that's maybe not how you were thinking. You were thinking you're going to write y plus 3x. But remember that with addition, if I were to add 2 plus 3 or 3 plus 2, both of these are equal to 5. Then when I'm adding numbers, the order doesn't matter. I can add them in whatever order I want to. And since I know that for my form, I need the x term to come first, then when I add these together, I put the x term first. So 3x plus y is equal to -4, and I'm done. That's my answer. I'm finished. It is in this form of ax plus by is equal to c. Okay, so let's take a look at problem number 6. All right, and if the substitute would please pause the video for just a couple of seconds. I want everybody to do problem number 6 on your own, and then let's come back together. Okay, so hopefully you got 4x plus y is equal to -6. The way I got that was I added 4x to both sides. Again, I wanted to put the 4x first, so I put 4x first plus y, and then I had a -6 here. These 4x's just went away, and so I was left with the -6 over here. Moving on to problem number 7. When you take a look at that, you might see that we have a problem because not only are x and y on opposite sides, but now we also have a fraction. And that's that we can't have fractions in front of x. We can't have fractions at all. We have to get rid of the fraction. And so here's my advice for you. First of all, we're going to deal with the fraction first. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to multiply by the denominator. Now write this down because you're going to forget this, and when you do it again in a couple of days, you're going to want to have a little list of directions on what it was you did in order to solve this problem. So we're going to multiply by the denominator, and when I say multiply by the denominator, I mean we need to multiply everything by the denominator. So what is everything? Well, I mean everything. We're going to multiply the y by the denominator. We're going to multiply this thing by the denominator, and we're going to multiply this thing by the denominator. All right, so let's see what that's going to look like. I'm going to do 6 times y is equal to 6 times negative 1/6 x, and then minus 6 times 6. All right, so I multiplied I multiplied the y by 6. I multiplied this negative 1/6x times 6, and I multiplied this negative 6 times 6. Now some of these are pretty straightforward, right? 6 times y, that's just 6y. All right, and then over here on the end here, this negative 6 times 6, that's just negative 36. What happens here in the middle? All right, so I've got a positive times a negative, so that's going to be negative. Now we can think of that 6 as being a 6 over 1, right? So when I multiply, I'm going to have 6 times 1 over 1 times 6. And that gives me 6 over 6x. Well, what is 6 over 6? Anything over itself, right? 5 over 5, 2 over 2, 3 over 3. Anything over itself is just equal to 1. And so this is just 6y equal to negative 1x minus 36. And now we can finish this problem because we still need to move the negative x over. All right, so let's go put that up. Step 2 is to move the x. You guys know how to do that, so I want you to go ahead and finish this problem. Okay, we still have to move the x. And once you do that, I want you to go over to problem number 8 and see if you can do problem number 8. So substitute, please pause the video for a moment. I want everybody to finish problem number 7 and then try problem number 8. Okay, so hopefully number 7 finished fine. You got x plus 6y is equal to negative 36. We just had to add x to both sides. Number 8 had a couple of wrinkles to it, right? So when you multiplied everything by 2, you get the 2y and you get the negative 8. This thing right here, though, did you catch that you can think of it as being 18 over 2. 18 over 2 simplifies down into 9, and that's why our fraction goes away. 18 is even and 2 is even. 18 divided by 2 is 9. Now, for those of you that are a little bit more comfortable with math, I want to show you something, and it's okay if it doesn't make sense to you, but if it does, it really saves you some time and trouble. These 2's back up here when I multiply, since we always say that we can think about this as being a 2 over 1, these 2's actually cancel away, and I go straight to 9, and I can miss the whole 18 over 2x piece if I spot that, if I realize I can cancel those 2's. If you don't, that's okay. So then I had a 9x here. It was positive this time, so I subtracted it over, and I got to this, which seems great, but it's not because that thing is negative, and it can't be. So what do? Well, the easiest thing here is to multiply everything by negative 1. All right, and so We take this thing and multiply everything by -1, and now I've got to distribute that -1 everywhere. It multiplies to everything. So -1 times -9 is positive 9x. -1 times 2y is negative 2y, and -1 times -8 is positive 8. And if you do it right, you'll find all of your signs change. That was a negative, it's now a positive. This is a positive, now it's a negative. This is a negative, now it's a positive. And so this right here is my final answer.